The alarm screamed through the research station, but Commander Taman didn't move. He stood perfectly still, staring at the screen that displayed something impossible. A signal. From Earth. Earth wasn't supposed to send signals. Earth wasn't supposed to do anything. For 500 years, the Galactic Council had declared the blue planet forbidden. Any ship that went near it never came back. Any probe that entered its atmosphere stopped working. The planet was wrapped in some kind of energy field that killed technology and drove organic minds insane. At least, that's what the official reports said. Taman had always wondered if those reports were telling the truth. "Commander, you need to see this," Dr. Hee-jin said, her voice tight with excitement. She was leaning over her workstation, her long fingers flying across the holographic controls. "I've been tracking this signal for 3 days. It's not random. It's a pattern. Someone down there is trying to talk to us." Taman walked to her station, his boots silent on the metal floor. Around them, the research outpost hummed with the usual sounds of deep space life support and computer systems. 40 scientists worked here, studying the quarantine zone from a safe distance. They weren't supposed to get close. They definitely weren't supposed to listen to signals from the forbidden world. "Show me," Taman said quietly. Hee-jin pulled up the data. The signal pulsed across the screen in waves of blue and green light. It was crude, primitive compared to galactic standard communications, but it was deliberate. It was intelligent, and it was asking for help. "This is impossible," Captain Minho said from behind them. He was a tall man with scars on his hands and a criminal record in 3 systems. Taman had hired him anyway because Minho knew how to fly through places other pilots feared. The council said humans are barely civilized. They shouldn't have this kind of technology for another 1,000 years. "The council says a lot of things," Taman replied. He touched the screen and the signal played as audio. It was strange, harsh sounds that his translator struggled to interpret, words in a language called Korean, mixed with mathematical sequences and star charts. "They're telling us where they are," Hee-jin whispered. "They're giving us coordinates. They want us to come." "That's insane," Minho said. "Nobody goes to Earth. It's galactic law. If the council finds out we even detected this signal, they'll arrest us all." Taman knew Minho was right. The Galactic Council didn't just forbid contact with Earth. They had ships patrolling the entire sector, making sure nobody got curious. Any vessel caught trying to reach the quarantined world would be destroyed immediately. No questions, no trials, no mercy. But Taman had spent his entire military career following orders that didn't make sense. He had watched the council lie about wars, hide discoveries, and silence anyone who asked too many questions. He had done terrible things because his commanders told him those things were necessary. He was tired of following blind orders. "How long would it take us to reach Earth?" Taman asked. Minho's eyes went wide. "You can't be serious. Answer the question." The pilot looked at Hee-jin, then back at Taman. "With my ship? Maybe 6 days if we push the engines hard." "But Commander, we'd have to disable our tracking beacon. The moment we go off the approved flight paths, Council Patrol will flag us, and once we enter Earth system, there's no coming back. That energy field, whatever it is, it'll trap us there." "I know," Taman said. Young Ji-won stepped forward from her station near the back of the room. She was barely 20 cycles old, brilliant with computers and navigation systems. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice was steady. "I can bypass the tracking systems. I've been studying Council security protocols for years. If we're careful, we can make it look like the ship had a malfunction and drifted into dead space. By the time they figure out we went to Earth, we'll already be there. And we'll never leave," Minho said flatly. "You understand that, right? We go there, we die there. There's no rescue. No going home. Whatever's on Earth stays on Earth." Silence filled the research station. Everyone was looking at Taman now. He was the commander. The decision was his. He could order them to delete the signal. Forget they ever heard it. Go back to their safe. Boring work studying the quarantine zone from far away, or he could break the most important law in the galaxy. Taman thought about the signal. Someone down there was calling out to the stars, hoping someone would answer. For 500 years, the Council had made sure nobody did. They had isolated an entire species, cut them off from the galactic community, and left them alone on their blue world. Why? What was the Council so afraid of? "Dr. Hee-jin," Taman said, "you've been studying Earth longer than anyone. What do you really think is down there?" Hee-jin took a breath. "I think the Council is lying. I've intercepted hundreds of human radio transmissions over the years. Music, stories, scientific discussions, everything. They're not primitive. They're not dangerous. They're just different. And there's something else. She pulled up another screen. 3 years ago, a galactic plague started spreading through the outer colonies. Nothing stops it. But I've been comparing the plague's genetic structure to the energy signatures from Earth. And I think there's a connection. I think whatever protects Earth from our technology might also be the key to curing the plague. If I'm right, going to Earth isn't just breaking the law. It might save billions of lives. And if you're wrong, Minho asked, then we die on a forbidden planet and nobody ever knows we tried. Taemin looked around the room. Soyeon, the engineer, was already pulling up ship specifications, calculating what supplies they would need. Daehyun, the security officer, had his hand on his weapon, but he nodded slowly when Taemin caught his eye. Daehyun had his own reasons for wanting to escape council space. Everyone here volunteers, Taemin said clearly. If you come with us, you're choosing exile. You're choosing to break galactic law. You can never go home. Your families will think you're dead. The council will declare you criminals. But if Dr. Hyejin is right, we might find something worth all of that. Nobody moved. Then Jiwon raised her hand. I volunteer. Me too, Soyeon said. I'm in, Daehyun added. Minho laughed, but it was a bitter sound. I've got warrants in half the galaxy anyway. Might as well add one more. Someone has to fly you fools to your doom. Dr. Hyejin smiled. When do we leave? Taemin felt something shift inside him. This was it, the moment that would define the rest of his life, however long that would be. He was about to lead 6 people into the unknown, chasing a signal from a forbidden world, breaking laws that were older than most civilizations. He had never felt more certain of anything. We leave in 4 hours. Taemin said, pack only what you can carry. Jiwon, start erasing our digital footprints. Soyeon, prepare the ship for long-range travel and hard landing. Minho, plot the fastest course to Earth that avoids all patrol routes. Daehyun, make sure we have weapons and medical supplies. Hyejin, download everything you have on Earth and human languages. Everyone scattered to their tasks. Within minutes, the research station was chaos with preparation. Taemin watched them work, these people who were about to throw away everything for a chance at truth. 4 hours later, the ship Celestial Wind detached from the station and slipped into the darkness between stars. Behind them, their tracking beacon broadcast a false malfunction signal. Ahead of them, somewhere in the black, a small blue planet waited. They had broken galactic law. Now there was no turning back. 6 days in space felt like 6 years. The Celestial Wind pushed through the darkness while its crew barely slept. Every sensor alert made them jump. Every time Jiwon checked the navigation systems, she expected to see council patrol ships closing in behind them. But no one came. The galaxy was vast, and they were just one small ship among billions. Commander Taemin spent most of his time on the bridge, watching the view screen as their destination grew larger. Earth, the forbidden world. From this distance, it looked beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. Nothing about it seemed dangerous. Nothing suggested it was a death trap that had claimed hundreds of ships. We're approaching the outer boundary of the energy field, Captain Minho announced. His hands moved across the control panel with practiced ease, but Taemin could see the tension in his shoulders. Once we cross this point, our long-range communications will stop working. Nobody will hear us anymore. Do it, Taemin said. The ship crossed an invisible line and everything changed. The lights flickered. The steady hum of the engines stuttered and whined. On Jiwon's navigation screen, half the readouts turned red. Error messages scrolled faster than she could read them. What's happening? Hyejin grabbed her seat as the ship shook. Soyeon was already running through the engine room, her fingers flying over repair panels. The energy field isn't destroying our systems. It's changing them. Rewriting the fundamental operating codes. I've never seen anything like this. The ship shook harder. Minho fought with the controls, trying to keep them stable. We're losing altitude. The field is pulling us down. Can you control it? Taemin asked. I'm trying, but the thrusters aren't responding right. It's like the ship wants to go to Earth, like something down there is calling us. Taemin looked at Hyejin. The signal. Is it still broadcasting? She checked her equipment, struggling as the readings kept changing. Yes, still coming from the same location. Coordinates point to the Korean Peninsula, mountainous region, away from major population centers. That's where we're going then, Taman decided. Minho, stop fighting it. Let the field guide us down, but try to aim for those coordinates. You're insane, Minho muttered. But he adjusted the controls anyway. The celestial wind dropped through Earth's atmosphere like a stone. The hull heated up, glowing red as friction tore at the shields. Systems failed one by one. Life support, weapons, communications, everything flickered and died and sometimes came back wrong. Daehyun strapped himself into his seat, weapon ready as if he could shoot their way out of this. Through the view screen, Taman watched the planet rush up to meet them. He could see the curve of the continent, the mountain ranges, the forests. So much green. His homeworld was mostly red desert and silver cities. He had never seen this much living plant matter in one place. Brace for impact, Minho shouted. The ship hit the treetops first. Branches and leaves exploded around them as they crashed through the forest canopy. The impact alarm screamed. Metal groaned and tore. Someone was yelling, but Taman couldn't tell who. The world spun and flipped and suddenly stopped. Silence. Taman's head rang. His safety harness had bruised his chest and something warm dripped down his forehead. Blood, probably. He tried to move and found that everything still worked. Barely. Everyone alive? He called out. Groans answered him. One by one, the crew checked in. Bruised, bleeding, shaken, but alive. The ship had crashed in a small clearing, surrounded by tall trees with leaves that moved in the wind. Through the cracked view screen, Taman could see sky. Real sky, not the black of space. It was blue, just like in the images, and there was a sun. Yellow, not like the orange sun he had grown up under. Soyeon, can we fly again? Taman asked. The engineer had already disappeared into the engine room. A few minutes later, she came back, her face grim. No, the main engines are dead. Not broken, dead. Like they forgot how to work. The energy field from this planet has rewritten too much of our technology. We're not getting off the ground again, nobody spoke. They had known this was a one-way trip. But knowing and experiencing were different things. They were trapped. Forever. What about local transport? Daehyun asked. Can we convert a shuttle? Maybe for short distances, Soyeon said. But nothing that could reach orbit. We're stuck on Earth. Jiwon was checking her instruments and her face had gone pale. There's something else. My biological scanner, before it died, it picked up something strange. Our bodies are already changing. The atmosphere here, the gravity, something in the environment is affecting us at a cellular level. What kind of changes? Hyejin moved to look at the readings. I don't know yet. But it's happening fast. Faster than normal adaptation. It's like Earth is rewriting us the same way it rewrote the ship. Taman felt it then, a strange tingling under his skin. He had assumed it was from the crash, but maybe it was more. Maybe Earth was already claiming them, changing them into something new. The signal, he said. We need to find whoever sent it. Minho opened the ship's main door. Fresh air rushed in, and it was like nothing Taman had ever breathed. It smelled green and alive and wild. It was also heavy, thicker than what he was used to. His lungs worked harder to pull it in. The crew gathered supplies. Weapons, medical kits, scanning equipment, everything they could carry. They didn't know what they would find out there. Humans, according to the Council, were primitive and violent, but the Council had lied about everything else. Maybe they had lied about that too. They left the ship behind and entered the forest. The trees were massive, older than any living thing Taman had seen. Sunlight filtered through the leaves in golden beams. Strange sounds echoed around them. Animal calls and insect buzzes and wind through branches. Everything was alive here in a way that cities and space stations never were. The signal source is 3 kilometers northeast, Jiwon said, checking a handheld device that barely worked. They walked in formation, Daehyun taking point with his weapon ready. The forest floor was soft under their boots, covered in dead leaves and moss. Small creatures ran from their approach and birds flew overhead. Taman tried not to think about how alien this all was, how wrong it felt to be walking under open sky with wind on his face. After an hour, Jiwon held up her hand. We're close. The signal is just ahead. They came over a small ridge and stopped. Below them, hidden in a valley between 2 mountains, was a facility. It was human-made, obvious from the architectural style. Concrete buildings, communication towers, security fences, and parked near the main structure were vehicles that looked like they were built for military use. Humans, Hyejin whispered. Real humans. Taman had seen images of humans before, but those were old, from when the Council first discovered Earth. These humans looked more advanced. Their facility had technology that shouldn't exist for hundreds of years according to council estimates. They've been lying about more than just the quarantine, Daehyun said quietly. Humans are way more advanced than the official reports say. Before Taemin could respond, alarms blared from the facility. Lights turned on. Armed humans poured out of the buildings, weapons pointed at the ridge where the crew stood. A voice called out in a language the translator struggled with. Korean mixed with commands and warnings. They know we're here, Minho said. What do we do? Taemin made a decision. He stepped forward, hands raised, showing he was unarmed. His crew followed his lead. We come in peace, Taemin called out, hoping the translator would work well enough. We received your signal. We came to help. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a man stepped forward from the human group. He was older, wearing a white coat over practical clothes. His face was weathered but intelligent. He studied the aliens with eyes that showed no fear, only intense curiosity. The man spoke, and this time the translator worked better. You're aliens. Real aliens. You broke quarantine to come here. Yes, Taemin said simply. The human man smiled then, but it was a sad smile. Then you're trapped here now, just like us. Welcome to Earth, Commander. I'm Dr. Junho. We've been waiting for someone to answer our call for 30 years. 30 years? Hyejin asked. We've been sending signals into space for 30 years, Dr. Junho confirmed. You're the first ones brave enough or foolish enough to respond. Come inside. We have a lot to talk about, and you need to understand what this planet is before the changes go too far. Taemin looked at his crew. They were already different from when they left the station. Something in their eyes, their posture, the way they breathed. Earth was already remaking them. They followed the humans into the facility, past guards with strange weapons into a world they would never leave. The inside of the facility looked nothing like what Taemin expected. He had imagined primitive technology and crude equipment. Instead, the hallways were clean and modern, filled with computers and display screens showing data that made sense even to his alien eyes. These humans understood advanced science. They were studying things that some galactic civilizations hadn't discovered yet. Dr. Junho led them to a large conference room with windows overlooking the mountain valley. Guards stood at every door, weapons ready but not aimed. The humans were scared, Taemin realized. They had called for help from the stars, but now that aliens were actually here, they didn't know if they had made a terrible mistake. A woman in a dark suit entered the room, her movements precise and controlled. Everything about her screamed military training. Her hand rested near a weapon on her belt, and her eyes tracked every alien in the room with cold calculation. This is Agent Nari, Dr. Junho said. She represents our government's security interests. She's here to make sure we don't do anything stupid. Too late for that, Agent Nari said in perfect Korean, which the translator rendered smoothly. We already did something stupid. We called aliens to a quarantined world. Now they're here, and we have no idea if they're friendly or if they're the first wave of an invasion. We're not invaders, Taemin said carefully. We're scientists and explorers. We came because you asked for help. Why would aliens help humans? Nari's eyes narrowed. What do you want from us? It was Dr. Hyejin who answered. She stepped forward, her hands open and empty. Knowledge. Understanding. The Galactic Council has kept Earth isolated for 500 years. They say your world is dangerous, that it kills anyone who comes here. But that's not true. We're alive. Our ship crashed, but we survived. I want to know why the Council lied. I want to know what makes Earth special. Dr. Junho sat down at the conference table and gestured for everyone else to do the same. Slowly, carefully, aliens and humans took seats across from each other. It was the strangest meeting Taemin had ever attended. First contact between species should have involved diplomats and protocols and careful planning. Instead, it was 7 criminals and a handful of humans in a secret mountain base. Earth is special because of what we are, Dr. Junho began. For 30 years, we've been studying the energy field that surrounds our planet. We didn't create it. It's natural, or at least it's been here longer than human civilization. It affects technology in strange ways. Some devices stop working. Others work differently. But humans are immune to it. We can use any technology we want. That's impossible, Soyeon said. Energy fields don't discriminate. If it affects one type of biological system, it should affect all of them. Unless humans are the source, Hyejin said quietly. She was staring at Dr. Junho with wide eyes. That's it, isn't it? Humans generate the field. It's not protecting you. It's coming from you. Agent Nari's hand moved closer to her weapon. How did you figure that out? Because I've been studying Earth from a distance for years. I always wondered why the energy signatures matched human biological patterns. I thought it was coincidence. Hyejin pulled out her damaged scanner. Let me test something. May I scan you, Dr. Junho? The scientist nodded. Hyejin ran the scanner over him and the device went crazy with readings. She did the same to Agent Nari, then to several human guards. Every time the results were the same. You're generating energy fields from your neural patterns, Hyejin explained, showing the data to both humans and aliens. Every human brain produces a specific frequency that interferes with most galactic technology. You don't even know you're doing it. It's as natural to you as breathing, and when billions of humans do it at once, it creates a planetary shield that makes most alien technology fail. The room went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Humans weren't quarantined because they were dangerous. They were quarantined because they were a threat to the technological dominance of every other species in the galaxy. The Council knew, Taman said. They had to know. That's why they sealed Earth away. Not to protect the galaxy from humans, but to protect themselves from what humans represent. A species that can disable our technology just by existing, Daehyun added. If humans ever reached the stars, they could walk onto any ship, any station, and everything would stop working. That's why you've never been contacted, Captain Minho said to the humans. The Council is afraid of you. Agent Nari looked like she wanted to argue, but Dr. Junho just looked tired. We suspected something like this. We've intercepted signals from space, fragments of transmissions that weren't meant for us. We learned there's a galactic community out there and they're deliberately ignoring us. We thought maybe we weren't advanced enough. Now I understand. They were never going to let us join. They can't risk it. But you're here now, Dr. Junho continued, looking at Taman and his crew. You broke their laws to come here. Why? Because I'm tired of following orders that don't make sense, Taman said honestly. Because Dr. Hyejin believes Earth might hold the cure to a plague that's killing billions. Because we received a signal asking for help, and we decided that was more important than galactic law. There's a plague? Dr. Junho leaned forward. Hyejin explained about the disease spreading through the outer colonies, how nothing could stop it, how entire worlds were dying. She showed them data about the plague's genetic structure, and how it seemed connected to the same energy patterns that Earth produced. If I'm right, Hyejin said, humans might be naturally immune to this plague, and your biology might hold the key to creating a cure that works for the rest of us. Agent Nari stood up abruptly. You want to experiment on humans? You want to use us as test subjects? No, Hyejin said firmly. I want to work with humans. Share knowledge. Learn from each other. But I can't do that if the Council finds out we're here. They'll send a fleet to sterilize this entire region. They'll kill everyone who knows about this contact. When will they come? Dr. Junho asked. We disabled our tracking beacon, Jiwon said. It'll look like we had a malfunction and drifted into dead space. But eventually they'll search the area. When they realize we came to Earth, they'll send enforcement ships. Maybe 6 months. Maybe less. 6 months to learn enough to defend ourselves, Agent Nari said. Or 6 months until we all die. There's something else you need to know, Soyeon said quietly. We're changing. Our bodies are adapting to Earth in ways that shouldn't be possible. I've been monitoring our biological signs since we crashed. We're becoming more like you. Our cells are restructuring. It's like Earth itself is rewriting our DNA. We've seen that before, Dr. Junho said grimly. We've found crash sites. Old ones, thousands of years old. Some of them had remains. They looked like they started as aliens but ended as something almost human. We thought they were different species. Now I think they were all aliens who got trapped here and changed. How long? Taman asked. How long before we're completely changed? Based on the rate of cellular modification, maybe 3 months. Maybe less. By the time the Council comes looking for you, you won't be the same species anymore. You'll be something new, something the galaxy has never seen. Taman looked at his crew. They all understood now. They had broken galactic law thinking they would die on Earth. They hadn't realized Earth would remake them first. They would become something between alien and human, belonging to neither world. We need to work together, Taman said to Dr. Junho and Agent Nari. You need our technology and knowledge about the galaxy. We need your understanding of Earth and how to survive here. And we both need to figure out how to stop a council fleet from destroying everything when they arrive. Dr. Junho looked at Agent Nari. Something passed between them. A silent conversation that only people who had worked together for years could have. Finally, Nari nodded. We'll help you, Dr. Junho said. But we have conditions. First, you share everything you know about galactic technology and how it works. Second, you help us develop defenses against the council fleet. Third, you let us study you, understand what's happening to your bodies. And fourth, you accept that you're on Earth now. That means you follow our rules, respect our laws, and understand that if you threaten any human, we will stop you. Agreed, Taman said without hesitation. Then welcome to Earth. Dr. Junho stood and offered his hand in a human gesture. Taman took it, feeling the warmth of human skin against his own already changing flesh. Let's save both our species. Outside the windows, the sun was setting over the mountains, painting the sky in colors Taman had never seen. Orange and pink and purple, all bleeding together in a way that shouldn't work but somehow did. Earth was beautiful and terrifying and nothing like what the council had said, and it was home now whether they wanted it to be or not. 3 months passed and Taman barely recognized himself anymore. He stood in front of a mirror in his quarters, studying the stranger looking back. His skin had lost its natural blue tint and now looked almost human. His eyes were changing color, shifting from silver to something darker. Even his bone structure was different, softer somehow. He wasn't the only one changing. Every member of his crew was transforming in ways that terrified and fascinated them. Soyeon's natural photosynthetic patches had faded completely. She had to eat human food now, actual organic matter, or she would starve. Captain Minho discovered he needed to sleep more than before, full unconscious rest instead of the light meditative state his species normally used. Ji-won was growing taller, her body reshaping to match human proportions. The worst part wasn't the physical changes, it was the emotional ones. Taman felt things he had never experienced before. Strong feelings that came without warning and overwhelmed his careful military discipline. Anger that burned hot instead of cold. Joy that made him want to laugh for no reason. Sadness that sat heavy in his chest like a stone. These were human emotions, intense and uncontrolled. You're adapting faster than expected, Dr. Hyejin said. She had her own lab now in the facility, working alongside Dr. Junho to understand what Earth was doing to them. Your neural patterns are almost indistinguishable from human ones. In another month, you'll be completely transformed. Will we still be ourselves? Taman asked. Or will we become someone else? I don't know, Hyejin admitted. The person you were is changing, but the memories and experiences stay. Maybe you become a new version of yourself. Maybe that's what adaptation really means. Outside the lab, the facility had grown. More humans had arrived, scientists and engineers and soldiers. A woman named Yoonji had come from a nearby village bringing food and supplies. She was curious about the aliens. Unafraid in a way that surprised everyone, she talked to them like they were just people, asked questions about their lives before Earth, told stories about human culture. Yoonji had become friends with Ji-won, teaching her Korean songs and how to cook human food. Watching them together, Taman saw something he hadn't expected. Acceptance. These two beings from completely different worlds, sitting together and laughing over burned rice. A former soldier named Young-ho joined the security team, working alongside Dae-hyun. At first they circled each other like wary predators, but after stopping an attempt by local authorities to raid the facility, they had developed a grudging respect. Now they trained together, combining alien combat techniques with human martial arts. The work continued day and night. Soyeon and the human engineers were reverse engineering the celestial wind, trying to understand how alien technology worked and how to adapt it for human use. It was slow, frustrating work. Human hands kept triggering the energy field effects, making the alien systems behave strangely, but they were learning. The humans absorbed technical knowledge faster than anyone expected. What should have taken years, they grasped in weeks. Dr. Junho called it humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt and learn and innovate under pressure. Your species is remarkable, Dr. Hyejin told the assembled human scientists one day. Most civilizations take centuries to advance from one technological level to the next. You're doing it in months. We don't have centuries, Agent Nari said flatly. She had become less hostile over time, but she never forgot the threat hanging over them. We have maybe 3 months before the Council fleet arrives. We need weapons, defenses, something that can stop them. Dr. Junho had been working on exactly that. He showed them the plans on a large display screen. We've been analyzing Earth's natural energy field for decades. We never understood it before, but now we know it's generated by human neural patterns. If we could amplify it, focus it, we could create a planetary defense system, a weapon that would disable any alien ship that gets close. How? Minyo asked. You can't just turn billions of human brains into a weapon. Not directly, Dr. Junho agreed. But we can build amplifiers, satellites in orbit that collect and focus the natural energy humans produce. It would create zones where alien technology simply stops working. That would trap the Council fleet here, Taman said slowly, the same way our ship was trapped. They would crash just like we did. Yes, Dr. Junho said, but there's a problem. The amplifiers would be incredibly unstable, too much energy, and we could burn out Earth's magnetosphere. The planet would become uninhabitable. Too little, and the Council fleet could power through. We need to calibrate it perfectly, and we've never tested it on this scale. We need test subjects, Agent Nari said. Alien ships that we can practice on. We're not shooting down random ships, Taman said firmly. That's murder. Then how do we test it? Nari demanded. Wait until the Council fleet arrives and hope we get it right on the first try. The argument went back and forth. Tensions rose as the deadline approached. Everyone knew the Council would come eventually. Every day without detection was borrowed time. Then Jiwon made a discovery that changed everything. She had been monitoring deep space communications, trying to intercept Council transmissions. Late one night, she burst into the common room where everyone was gathered. I found something, she said, breathless with excitement or fear or both. Council Patrol has been investigating our disappearance. They tracked us as far as this sector. They're sending a reconnaissance ship to check the area. It'll be here in 2 weeks. That's earlier than expected, Daehyun said, his hand moving to his weapon by instinct. One ship isn't a fleet, Minho said. That's our test subject. Let it come close, let it enter Earth's field and see what happens. And if our defenses don't work? Soyeon asked. Then we're all dead anyway, Nari said bluntly. At least this way we get data before the real fleet arrives. Dr. Heejin looked sick. We're talking about killing people. The crew of that ship hasn't done anything wrong. They're just following orders. So were we, Taman said quietly. When we followed orders that didn't make sense. When we did things we knew were wrong because someone with more authority told us to. Those crew members made the same choice we did. They chose to serve the Council. If they find us here, they'll report back, and the Council will send a fleet to destroy everyone in this facility. Every human who helped us dies, we die. Earth's secret dies with us. The room went silent. Everyone understood the choice. Mercy or survival, morality or pragmatism. There was no good answer. We set the trap, Taman decided. He was the commander. The burden was his to carry, but we give them a chance. When they enter the field and their systems fail, we broadcast a message. Tell them the truth about Earth and the Council's lies. Give them the choice to join us or to leave and report what they found. Let them decide their own fate. And if they choose to report, Agent Nari asked. Then we use the defense system, Taman said. And we accept what that makes us. The next 2 weeks were spent in frantic preparation. The humans launched satellites into orbit, experimental amplifiers that would focus Earth's natural energy. Soyeon helped them understand the alien technology they would be facing. Dr. Hyejin compiled all their research into a single message, the truth about Earth and humanity and the Council's conspiracy. Yoonji asked Taman one evening as they watched the sunset. Do you think they'll join us? I don't know, Taman said honestly. His voice sounded more human every day. I hope so. I hope they see what we saw, that the Council has been lying, that humanity deserves a place in the galaxy, that some rules should be broken. And if they don't? Taman didn't answer. He just watched the sun disappear behind the mountains, painting the sky in colors that felt more like home every day. 2 weeks later, exactly on schedule, a Council reconnaissance ship dropped out of hyperspace near Earth. It was smaller than the Celestial Wind, built for speed and sensors rather than comfort. The crew was probably only 4 or 5 people who were about to have their whole world turned upside down, just like Taman's had been. Activating the defense grid, Dr. Junho said, his finger hovering over the control. Wait, Taman said. Let them get a little closer. Let them see Earth first. Let them see what they're really dealing with. The ship approached, crossing into the energy field. Its systems immediately began failing. Taman watched on the monitors as the crew panicked, trying to regain control, failing just as his crew had failed. "Now," he said, "send the message, and hope they listen." The reconnaissance ship crashed in the ocean, 20 kilometers from the coast. It was a controlled crash, better than what the celestial wind had managed. The crew survived, and within hours, human rescue teams had pulled them from the wreckage. 4 aliens, terrified and confused, were brought to the facility. They thought they were going to die. Instead, they found other aliens living alongside humans, working together. They found a truth that shattered everything they believed about the galaxy. It took days of careful conversation, but eventually the reconnaissance crew agreed to join them. They didn't have much choice. Their ship was destroyed, and their bodies were already beginning to change. But more than that, they had seen the evidence. They had read Dr. Heejin's research. They knew the Council had lied about Earth for 500 years. "We have maybe 2 months now before the Council sends a full investigation fleet," the reconnaissance ship's captain said. Her name was Mirai, and she had been a Council loyalist her entire life. Now she looked lost, like everything she built her identity on had collapsed. "When we don't report back, they'll assume the worst." "Good," Agent Nari said. "Let them come. We'll be ready." But Taman wasn't thinking about the coming fleet. He was thinking about what Captain Mirai had said during her debriefing. She mentioned that her ship's sensors had detected anomalies in a cave system near the crash site, old technology signatures that didn't match any known civilization. "Show me exactly where," Taman said, studying the map. 3 days later, he led an expedition into the caves. Dr. Heejin, Jiwon, Daehyun, Dr. Junho, and Yoonji came with him. The caves went deep into the mountains, dark and cold and ancient. Their lights reflected off wet stone walls as they descended. "There," Jiwon said, pointing her scanner at a section of cave wall. "The readings are coming from behind that rock." Daehyun and Youngho used explosives to carefully blast through. Behind the false wall was a chamber that took everyone's breath away. It was a room, clearly artificial, carved from the mountain itself thousands of years ago. The walls were covered in writing that looked like Galactic Standard script but older, more primitive, and in the center of the room stood machines. Dead machines, their power cores long since depleted, but unmistakably alien in design. "This is Council technology," Dr. Heejin whispered. She moved closer, touching the machines with shaking hands. "But it's ancient. This design is at least 100,000 years old." "That's impossible," Dr. Junho said. "Earth humans have only existed for a few 100,000 years. We were barely using stone tools back then. We couldn't have built this." "We didn't," Taman said, examining the writing on the walls. "The Council did. They were here. Long before humans became civilized, the Council was on Earth. Jiwon was recording everything with her equipment, capturing images and data. Why would they come here so long ago? What were they doing? The answer was on the walls, written in ancient script that their translators struggled to interpret. But slowly, word by word, the story emerged. The Galactic Council hadn't always ruled the galaxy. Once there had been a species called the Predecessors, beings of incredible power and knowledge. They had built wonders and explored dimensions beyond normal space. But they had also been dangerous, unstable, their power growing beyond their ability to control it. The early council had been afraid of what the predecessors might become, afraid of losing their own power and influence, so they had done something terrible. They had created a prison, Earth. They had modified the planet, seeded it with a specific energy field designed to trap the predecessors. Any predecessor who came to Earth would be transformed, their power stripped away, their biology rewritten into something harmless. The energy field wasn't meant to protect Earth, it was meant to neutralize the predecessors. But something went wrong. Dr. Heejin read from the walls. The predecessors adapted. Instead of being destroyed, they evolved. They became something new. They became human. The chamber went silent. Everyone stared at the ancient writing, trying to process what it meant. "You're saying humans are descended from an ancient alien species?" Dr. Junho said slowly. "That we're the children of these predecessors?" "Not exactly," Heejin said. "The predecessors were transformed so completely, that they became an entirely new species. Humans aren't aliens who forgot they came from the stars. Humans are what happens when the most powerful beings in the galaxy get stripped of their power and forced to start over. You inherited their adaptability, their innovation, their potential, but you also inherited the energy field that imprisoned them. It became part of your biology. That's why the Council quarantined Earth, Taman understood now. Not because humans are dangerous, because humans are living proof of their greatest crime. They committed genocide against the predecessors and turned this planet into a prison. If anyone in the galaxy learned the truth, the Council's authority would collapse. Yunji sat down hard on the cave floor. Our entire existence is because some ancient aliens wanted to eliminate their competition. We're the descendants of prisoners. No, Dr. Junho said firmly. We're the descendants of survivors. The predecessors didn't die. They adapted. They became human and built civilization from nothing. No technology, no knowledge, starting with stone and fire and working their way up to spacecraft. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing I've ever heard. Jiwan was still recording, capturing every word, every image. We need to save this, all of it. This is proof of what the Council did. Evidence that they've been lying for 100,000 years. They'll destroy it, Daehyun said. The moment they know we found this, they'll send everything they have to erase it. Then we make copies, Taman decided. We document everything and spread it across human communication networks. Make it impossible to delete, and when the Council fleet arrives, we show them what we found. Force them to face what they did. They spent 3 days in the caves recording and documenting everything. The ancient machines, the writing, every piece of evidence they could find. They discovered more chambers deeper in the mountain, each one revealing another piece of the story. The predecessors hadn't gone quietly into extinction. They had fought back, tried to resist the transformation, but Earth's energy field was too strong, too deeply woven into the planet itself. Over generations, they had forgotten their origins, forgotten their power, forgotten everything except how to survive. But they had left messages, hidden in the caves, hoping someday their descendants would find them. Messages that said, remember what you came from. Remember that you were once greater. Remember that the Council feared you for a reason. When they emerged from the caves, Taman felt different. Not just from the continued physical changes, though those were progressing rapidly, he felt connected to something larger. Earth wasn't just his prison. It was a monument to survival, to adaptation, to the refusal to accept defeat. Back at the facility, they shared their findings with everyone. The humans absorbed the news in different ways. Some were angry at being the descendants of a genocide. Others were proud that their ancestors had survived impossible odds. Agent Nari just looked determined. This changes everything, she said. We're not just defending ourselves anymore. We're defending the truth. The Council will do anything to keep this secret. They'll burn this entire planet to ash before they let anyone know what they did. Then we need to make sure the truth survives even if we don't, Dr. Junho said. He was already working on broadcast systems, ways to send the information beyond Earth into the galaxy itself. If we can get this data to other species, show them what the Council is capable of, we might start a revolution. Or we might start a war, Captain Mirai said quietly. She had been listening to everything, her face pale. The Council has ruled for millennia. They have armies, fleets, weapons we can't imagine. If we threaten their authority, they won't just send a single enforcement fleet. They'll send everything. Good, Taman said, and he was surprised by the heat in his own voice. Human emotion, burning bright and fierce. Let them come. Let them see what humans have become. Let them face the descendants of the species they tried to erase. We've been adapting for 100,000 years. They have no idea what we're capable of now. Outside, the sun was setting again. Taman had seen dozens of sunsets since arriving on Earth, and each one still took his breath away. This planet was beautiful in a way that made his chest hurt. It was deadly and imprisoning and also somehow home. He thought about the predecessors, those ancient powerful beings who had been forced to become something new. They must have hated Earth at first, hated what it was doing to them. But somewhere along the way, their descendants had fallen in love with this blue world. They had made it theirs. Taman was doing the same thing now. Earth was changing him, rewriting everything he was, and instead of fighting it, he was learning to accept it. Maybe even embrace it. How long do we have? Yunji asked, standing beside him. A month, Taman said. Maybe less. The Council knows something is wrong. They're mobilizing their enforcement fleet. Soon everyone on Earth will know aliens exist. And the galaxy will learn what humans really are. Will we win? Taman looked at her, this human woman who had become his friend. I don't know. But we'll make them remember us. Win or lose, the galaxy will never forget the day humanity fought back. A month, Taman said. Maybe less. The Council knows something is wrong. They're mobilizing their enforcement fleet. Soon everyone on Earth will know aliens exist. And the galaxy will learn what humans really are. Will we win? Taman looked at her, this human woman who had become his friend. I don't know. But we'll make them remember us. Win or lose, the galaxy will never forget the day humanity fought back. The news spread faster than anyone expected. Dr. Junho's team had tried to contain the information, share it only with trusted government officials and military leaders. But in the age of human communication networks, secrets didn't stay secret for long. Within a week, the entire world knew. Aliens existed. They had been watching Earth for centuries. Some had even come here, broken their own laws to reach humanity, and more were coming, not as friends but as executioners. The response was chaos at first. Some people panicked, certain that invasion was imminent. Religious leaders struggled to explain how alien life fit into their beliefs. Scientists demanded access to the alien technology and evidence. Politicians argued about who should speak for Earth if first contact became official. But then something unexpected happened. Humanity unified. It wasn't complete and it wasn't perfect. There were still arguments and disagreements and cultural differences, but for the first time in history, every nation on Earth agreed on one thing. They would not let aliens dictate humanity's fate. The Galactic Council had imprisoned Earth for 100,000 years, turned the planet into a cage for the predecessors. Humanity hadn't asked for this legacy, but they wouldn't run from it either. General Hanul arrived at the facility with military forces from 3 different countries. She was a stern woman with steel in her eyes and decades of experience commanding soldiers. She took one look at the aliens working alongside humans and made her decision. We need every advantage we can get, she said to Taman. I don't care where it comes from. Show me what you can do. The facility transformed into a military research center. Engineers worked around the clock, combining human ingenuity with alien knowledge. What they created shocked even the aliens. Humans took alien technology and made it better. They looked at devices designed to work one way and found 3 other ways to use them. They combined systems that were never meant to work together and created something entirely new. Their energy field, the same one that disrupted alien technology, didn't affect their own creations. It gave them an advantage that no other species had. This is impossible, Soyon said, watching human engineers modify alien power cores. These modifications should fail. The physics don't work this way. Human physics apparently do, Dr. Junho said with a tired smile. He hadn't slept in days. None of them had. We've always had to work with Earth's energy field. We developed technology that functions within it. Now we're just extending that principle to your devices. Professor Donghyun, a historian brought in to analyze the cave writings, made another discovery. He found references to the predecessor's original technology, hidden in ancient human myths and legends. Stories about divine weapons, magical artifacts, and impossible powers weren't just stories. They were distorted memories of what the predecessors could once do. If we could unlock even a fraction of that original power, Donghyun said, we might stand a chance against the Council fleet. But the real breakthrough came from Dr. Hyejin working with human geneticists. She discovered that human DNA still contained dormant code from the predecessors, genetic sequences that had been shut down by Earth's transformation process. These sequences controlled the energy field generation. Every human produced it naturally, but the genes that controlled the strength and focus of that field had been damaged. What if we could repair them? Hyejin proposed in a meeting with all the lead scientists. Not change humans into something else, but restore what they were meant to be. Awaken the dormant predecessor abilities. That's genetic modification on a scale we've never attempted, one of the human scientists objected. It could kill people. It could have effects we can't predict. Or it could give us a weapon the Council can't defend against, Agent Nari said. How long would it take? Months for proper testing, Hyejin said. But we don't have months. If we rush it, cut corners, maybe 3 weeks to develop a viable treatment. But we'd need volunteers. People willing to risk their lives to become something new. You'll have volunteers, General Hanul said. More than you can use. When people hear that they could help save Earth, Thousands will step forward. She was right. When the call went out for volunteers, tens of thousands of humans offered themselves. Soldiers, scientists, ordinary people from every country. They knew the risks. They knew the treatment might kill them or change them in terrible ways. They came anyway. Taman watched the volunteers arrive and felt something break inside his chest. These humans barely knew aliens existed, and they were already willing to die to protect their world. This was what the Council feared. Not human technology or energy fields, but this impossible courage that made no logical sense. The first test subject was a young soldier named Jiho. He was 23 years old, had a family waiting for him, and volunteered without hesitation. Dr. Hai-Jin personally administered the genetic treatment, her hands steady even though she was terrified. For 3 days, nothing happened. Jiho showed no changes, no improvement, no reaction at all. The scientists were preparing to declare the treatment a failure when Jiho started screaming. The energy field around him went wild. Computers exploded. Lights shattered. Everyone in the lab was thrown backward by an invisible force. For 30 seconds, Jiho was the center of a storm of pure energy that should have killed him. Then it stopped. Jiho collapsed, unconscious but alive. When he woke up hours later, he was different. The energy field he generated was 10 times stronger than any normal human. He could focus it, control it, turn it on and off at will. "I can feel it now," Jiho said, staring at his hands. "It was always there, but I never noticed it. Now it's like having a new sense. I can feel every electronic device in this room. I can make them stop working just by thinking about it." It was the proof they needed. The treatment worked. Over the next 2 weeks, they refined the process and began treating more volunteers. Not all of them survived. Some died when their bodies couldn't handle the transformation. Others went mad when the energy field awakened, their minds overwhelmed by the new sensations. But enough succeeded. Enough changed and survived and learned to control their newfound abilities. They became something the galaxy had never seen. Humans with predecessor powers awakened after 100,000 years of sleep. Meanwhile, the satellite network was completed. Hundreds of amplifier satellites orbited Earth, ready to focus the planet's natural energy field into a defensive weapon. Engineers had solved the stability problems mostly. The system would work, probably. It wouldn't destroy Earth's biosphere, hopefully. "It's the best we can do with the time we have," Dr. Junho said during the final briefing. "When the Council fleet arrives, we activate the satellites. Their ships will experience the same system failures we did when we entered Earth's field, but magnified 1,000 times. They'll crash or be forced to retreat. And if they've developed countermeasures?" General Hanul asked. "Then we fight them the old-fashioned way," Agent Nari said. She was suited up in combat armor, ready for battle, with weapons and soldiers and blood. Taman looked around the command center at all the faces, human and alien alike. His crew had changed so much. Soyeon looked almost human now except for her eyes. Minyo had started dreaming, something his species never did. Jiwon had become best friends with Yoonji, the two of them inseparable. Even Dae-hyun, cold and distant when they first arrived, had developed bonds with the human soldiers he trained with. They were all different people now. Changed by Earth, changed by humanity, changed by the choice they had made to break galactic law. "How long?" Taman asked Jiwon. She checked her monitoring equipment. "The Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace an hour ago. They're at the edge of the solar system, probably scanning and preparing. Based on their speed, they'll reach Earth in approximately 16 hours. 16 hours until everything changed. Until humanity faced its first real test against the galaxy that had imprisoned them. Send the message we prepared," Taman ordered. "Tell them what we found. Tell them we know about the predecessors and what the Council did. Give them a chance to turn back." The message was broadcast on all frequencies, accompanied by the evidence from the caves. The truth about Earth, about humanity's origins, about the Council's ancient crime. It went not just to the approaching fleet, but to every receiving station in range. By now, a dozen nearby systems would be hearing it. The secret the Council had kept for 100,000 years was spreading across the galaxy. The response came 6 hours later. It wasn't from the fleet commander. It was from the High Council itself, broadcast from the galactic capital. The information being spread about Earth is fabricated lies designed to undermine Council authority. "The planet remains under quarantine. Any resistance will be met with complete military force. Surrender the criminals who broke quarantine and Earth will be spared." Refuse, and we will be forced to sterilize the planet. You have 12 hours to comply. The message was cold, official, and absolute. The council wasn't going to negotiate. They weren't going to acknowledge their crime. They were going to bury the truth the same way they had buried the predecessors, with fire and death. 12 hours, General Hunnell said. That's not enough time to evacuate cities or move civilian populations. If we fight and lose, millions will die. If we surrender, billions will die, Ta. The fleet emerged from the darkness like metal gods descending to judge the world. 12 massive warships, each one larger than any human city. Their hulls were scarred from countless battles, their weapon systems capable of burning continents to glass. Behind them came support vessels, troop carriers, and bombardment platforms. This wasn't just an enforcement action. This was an execution force. Taman watched them appear on the monitors, his transformed heart beating faster than it ever had in his old body. This was the full might of the Galactic Council, the power that had kept order in the galaxy for millennia. And it was coming to destroy everything he had learned to care about. They're not slowing down, Jiwan reported from her station. No attempt at communication beyond repeating the surrender ultimatum. They're approaching at full combat speed. General Hanul stood at the command center surrounded by officers from a dozen nations. Humanity had never fought together like this before. They had argued about command structure and tactics and protocols, but in the end, they agreed on one thing. They would stand or fall as one species. All defense satellites are online, Dr. Junho said. His hands moved across holographic controls, ready to activate humanity's desperate gamble. Energy amplifiers at full power. Once we activate, there's no going back. The field will destabilize if we try to shut it down too quickly. Then we'd better make it count, Hanul said. She opened communications to every military base, every city, every human on Earth who was watching. This is General Hanul. In a few minutes, we will engage an alien fleet that came to destroy us. They believe we're weak. They believe we're helpless. They're about to learn what humanity can do when we're pushed to the edge. Whatever happens, remember this day. Remember that we stood together. Remember that we fought for our world. The fleet crossed into orbit, their ships spreading out to surround the planet. Sensor sweeps painted Earth with invisible light, cataloging cities and military installations. Target acquisition protocols were loading. In minutes, they would begin bombardment. Now, Taman said quietly. Dr. Junho pressed the activation sequence. Around the planet's satellites hummed to life. They began collecting and amplifying the energy field that every human naturally generated. Billions of people, their neural patterns creating interference focused and weaponized into something the galaxy had never faced. The effect was immediate and devastating. The lead warship systems failed first. Lights went dark. Engines cut out. The massive vessel shuddered and began falling toward Earth's atmosphere. The crew would be panicking, trying desperately to restart systems that no longer knew how to function. 3 more ships lost power in rapid succession. Their shields collapsed. Their weapons went offline. They were nothing but metal falling through space, pulled inexorably toward the planet by gravity. It's working, Soyan whispered. The defense grid is actually working. But the remaining ships were adapting. Their commanders saw what happened to the first vessels and changed tactics. They engaged emergency protocols, rerouting power through backup systems, using redundancy networks that human scanners hadn't detected. These were military vessels built to survive anything. They wouldn't die easily. Fleet Commander Gyung's ship remained operational at the rear of the formation. His voice cut through the chaos on a wide broadcast channel. All ships maintain maximum distance from the planet. Deploy electromagnetic shielding. Route all systems through analog backup cores. They want to fight? We'll show them what happens when primitives challenge the Council. The remaining ships began firing from orbit. Particle beams lanced down through the atmosphere, targeting the satellite network. Explosions blossomed in space as amplifiers were destroyed one by one. Each satellite lost weakened the defense field. We're losing coverage over the Pacific, Jiwan reported. 3 more satellites down over Europe. If this continues, they'll have enough gaps to approach safely. Launch the fighters, Hanul ordered. Humanity's response rose from bases across the planet. Atmospheric fighters modified with alien technology, flown by pilots who had trained for 3 weeks on systems they barely understood. They were outmatched and outgunned, and they flew anyway because that's what humans did. Taman watched the battle unfold across multiple screens. Human fighters swarmed the council ships like insects attacking giants. Most were destroyed before they got close. But some made it through, their missiles finding gaps in the weakened shields. Small victories bought with blood. Casualties are heavy, Nari reported. She was calm, professional, but Taman could see the pain in her eyes. We've lost 40% of our fighter wings. The 3 warships that had lost power early were entering Earth's atmosphere now, burning as friction tore at their hulls. 2 managed to execute emergency landings in the ocean. The 3rd crashed into mountains in South America, the explosion visible from space. We have ships down, Taman said. Send recovery teams. Take prisoners if possible. We need to show we're better than they are. No. Young's voice came over the communication channels. You need to understand what you're facing. The fleet commander's ship moved forward, approaching closer to Earth despite the energy field. His shields flickered and failed, but the ship continued. Systems struggled but didn't die completely. They had found a way to partially resist Earth's defense. You broke our most sacred law, Young continued. You spread lies designed to undermine galactic order. You refused to surrender criminals who should face justice, so now you face the consequences. His ship's main weapon began charging a massive energy cannon that could burn continents. The target was clear, the facility where this all started, the mountain base where humans and aliens first worked together. Evacuate the facility, Taman ordered. Everyone out now, but there wasn't time. The weapon fired, a column of pure energy that pierced the atmosphere like a spear from heaven. It struck the mountain with enough force to vaporize stone. The entire peak exploded, rock and fire and destruction spreading outward. Taman watched the place where he had lived for months disappear in seconds. All the research, all the evidence, all the friendships formed in those rooms gone. He waited for the anger, the rage, the human emotions that had become so familiar, but all he felt was cold determination. That was a mistake, he said quietly, because killing the facility didn't destroy the evidence. Copies had been distributed across the planet, uploaded to human networks, broadcast into space. And killing the base just proved to every watching human exactly what the Council was willing to do. Around the world, the response was instant. Cities lit up with defensive fire. Military installations that had held back now committed everything. And the enhanced humans, the volunteers who had awakened predecessor abilities, moved into action. They couldn't fly into space, but they didn't need to. The Council ships were descending now, trying to establish orbital bombardment positions. That brought them close enough. Jiho, the first successful test subject, stood at a military base with 50 others like him. They linked hands, focusing their energy fields together, amplifying each other. The effect was visible even from space. A column of distortion that reached up from Earth's surface like a pillar of broken reality. The pillar touched a Council warship, and the ship simply stopped functioning. Every system failed simultaneously. The vessel became a dead hulk, its crew trapped inside metal that no longer responded to their commands. It began falling, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. Impossible. Young's voice had lost its confident edge. These readings, this power level, this is predecessor technology. The predecessors are extinct. They've been gone for 100,000 years. They're not gone. Taman broadcasted on all channels, making sure every Council ship heard him. They evolved. They became human. And you're facing their descendants now. The people you tried to cage, to hide, to erase from history. They remember what you did, and they're not forgiving. More enhanced humans activated their abilities across the planet. The defense field multiplied in strength, becoming a barrier that no Council ship could penetrate. Vessels that tried found their crews passing out, their bodies unable to handle the neural interference. Captains ordered retreats, but some ships were already too deep in Earth's gravity well. Kyung's ship was one of them. He had come too close, too confident in his technology. Now that technology was failing, systems corrupting one by one, his shields were gone. His weapons were offline. His engines sputtered and died. This isn't over, Kyung broadcasted as his ship began its fatal descent. The Council will send another fleet. A bigger one. They'll burn this entire world to ash before they let you spread these lies. Maybe, Taman said. But the truth is already spreading. Every system in range heard our broadcast. They know what the Council did. They know about the predecessors. The lies are over, Commander. Your fleet came to preserve order, but all you did was prove we were right. Kyung's ship crashed into the ocean near where the others had fallen. Rescue operations were already underway, human ships pulling survivors from the wreckage. Some council crew fought back, refusing rescue from primitives. Others accepted help, too shocked by their defeat to resist. Of the 12 warships that arrived, 8 were destroyed or disabled. 4 had managed to retreat to safe distance, hovering at the edge of the system. They maintain. 3 months after the battle, the Galactic Council's response finally came. Not another fleet, but a transmission. An official communication broadcast across all frequencies so that every species in nearby systems would hear it. The Council had reviewed the evidence. They acknowledged that errors had been made in the past regarding Earth's quarantine. They proposed negotiations with humanity to discuss Earth's status and possible integration into the galactic community. It was careful language that admitted nothing while changing everything. The Council wouldn't confess to genocide against the predecessors, but they couldn't deny it either. The evidence had spread too far. Too many species had seen it, questioned it, demanded answers. Taman listened to the transmission from the rebuilt facility. They had moved to a new location after the old base was destroyed. A larger complex built with both human and alien technology. It housed the survivors from multiple crashed council ships, now permanent residents of Earth whether they wanted to be or not. "It's a trap," Daehyun said immediately. "The Council wants us to send representatives. They'll capture them, force confessions that the evidence was fake, use them to discredit everything we've revealed." "Probably," General Hanul agreed. "But we can't ignore it either. If we refuse negotiation, they have justification to escalate. The galaxy will see us as the aggressors." "Then we negotiate on our terms," Agent Nari said. She had been promoted to Earth's first alien relations officer, a position that didn't exist 3 months ago. "The Council wants to meet in neutral space?" "No, they come here. They land on Earth. They subject themselves to the same transformation we all experienced. Let them feel what it means to be changed." It was bold and it was risky, but it was also perfect. The Council couldn't refuse without looking weak. And if Council representatives came to Earth, they would be changed just like everyone else. They would understand what humanity and the predecessors had endured. The negotiation took weeks to arrange. Finally, a small Council diplomatic ship approached Earth. Aboard was an official delegation including an elder counselor, military advisors, and scientists. They were terrified, broadcasting constant medical data to prove they weren't being harmed or altered against their will. But Earth did alter them. Slowly, inevitably, just as it had altered everyone else. The delegation landed at the new facility and was greeted by an unusual welcoming committee. Taman stood at the front, looking almost entirely human now except for his eyes which still held traces of silver. Beside him was Dr. Hyejin, Captain Mirai who had chosen to stay on Earth, and former Fleet Commander Gyeong, who now advised Earth's military on Council tactics. Leading the human side was Dr. Junho, General Hanel, Agent Nari, and a new face. Ambassador Soman had been appointed by consensus of Earth's governments to speak for humanity in galactic affairs. She was young, brilliant, and absolutely fearless. The Council's lead negotiator was an elder named Wanshik. He was ancient by most species standards, had served on the Council for over 2 centuries, and carried himself with the weight of that authority. But as he stepped onto Earth's soil for the first time, Taman saw fear in his eyes. "Welcome to Earth," Ambassador Soman said in perfect galactic standard. Humanity had been learning alien languages at an impressive speed. "We hope your stay will be enlightening." The negotiations began in a large conference room with windows overlooking Earth's forests and mountains. The Council delegation wanted to discuss terms for Earth's controlled integration into galactic society. Quarantine lifted but with restrictions, limited technology transfers, supervised cultural exchanges. Essentially, they wanted humanity to join the galaxy as a junior member. Grateful for being allowed in at all, Ambassador Soman rejected every proposal. "Let me be clear about Earth's position," she said on the 3rd day of talks. "We're not asking permission to join galactic society. We're informing you that we're joining. We'll establish our own relationships with other species. We'll develop our own technology. We'll travel where we want and speak to whom we want. And you'll accept it because the alternative is admitting to 100,000 years of genocide and imprisonment." Elder Wanshik's face darkened with anger. "You have no authority to make such demands. You're one planet. We represent thousands of worlds. And how many of those worlds would support you if they knew the whole truth? Dr. Hyejin asked. She had been compiling additional evidence from the ancient caves, finding more damning details about the Council's treatment of the predecessors. We've been very selective about what we've released so far, but we have so much more. Records of experiments, documents ordering the creation of Earth's prison, communications between Council members celebrating the predecessor's transformation. Do you really want us to share all of that? The threat hung in the air. The Council had come expecting to negotiate from a position of strength, but Earth held all the real power. The truth was a weapon more devastating than any fleet. On the 5th day of negotiations, Elder Wanchik admitted defeat. Not in words, but in the agreement he signed. Earth would join the galactic community as a fully independent member. No restrictions, no supervision, no control. In exchange, Earth would limit how much additional evidence they released, giving the Council time to manage the political fallout internally. It wasn't justice, but it was freedom. And sometimes that had to be enough. The Council delegation stayed on Earth for 2 more weeks while their bodies finished adapting. Wanchik was deeply troubled by his transformation, feeling his identity slip away as he became more human-like. But one of his advisors, a scientist named Jinha, embraced the change with curiosity. I feel more alive here, Jinha confessed to Dr. Hyejin one evening. My species doesn't experience emotions strongly. Everything is muted, controlled. But here Earth makes me feel things intensely. Joy, sadness, wonder. It's overwhelming but also beautiful. That's what the predecessors must have felt, Hyejin said, when they first started changing. Maybe it wasn't just a punishment. Maybe it was also a gift. When the delegation finally left Earth, 3 of them chose to stay behind. They couldn't face returning to their old lives after experiencing what transformation meant. They joined the growing community of aliens who had become something new, something that belonged to Earth now. The 4 Council ships that had remained in orbit finally departed, carrying news of the agreement. Earth was free. The quarantine was officially over. Humanity could reach for the stars, but first they had to finish becoming what they were meant to be. The enhanced humans, those who had awakened predecessor abilities, continued their training. Jiho had become their leader, teaching others how to control the energy fields they generated. They were developing abilities that seemed impossible. Some could disrupt technology from kilometers away. Others could sense electrical systems through walls. A few had even stranger talents like reading the emotions of people nearby or predicting system failures before they happened. We're not human anymore, Jiho said during a demonstration for visiting scientists. But we're not entirely predecessor either. We're something in between, something that never existed before. You're Earth's children, Professor Donghyun said. He had been studying the transformation process from both historical and biological perspectives. Just like the original humans were. The predecessors were forced to change, but their descendants chose to embrace it. You're doing the same thing, choosing to become what Earth wants you to be. 6 months after the battle, the first human ship left Earth's atmosphere and didn't crash. It was a small vessel, built from scratch using combined human and alien knowledge. It had human crew and alien crew, all of them transformed by Earth into something new. They flew to the nearest inhabited system and made contact. The galaxy watched in amazement as humans introduced themselves not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals. They brought gifts of knowledge and offers of friendship. They also brought warnings about the Council's past crimes, gentle reminders that Earth wouldn't forget what had been done. More ships followed. Within a year, humans were traveling to dozens of systems, establishing trade relationships, sharing culture and technology. Some species welcomed them. Others were afraid of what humanity represented. But none could deny that the galaxy had changed. And back on Earth, the original crew of the Celestial Wind gathered for a memorial service. They stood in the forest where their ship had crashed, now overgrown with Earth's vibrant plant life. The wreckage had been mostly cleared away, but they left one piece, a section of hull that they carved with names of everyone who had died in the battle, human and alien alike. People who had sacrificed everything to give Earth and humanity a chance at freedom. Taemin placed flowers at the memorial, a human custom he had learned to appreciate. Beside him stood his crew, barely recognizable from the aliens they had once been. Soyeon looked fully human now. Minho could have walked through any human city unnoticed. Jiwon and Yoonji stood together, their friendship having deepened into something more. Even Daehyun, cold and distant when they first arrived, had found family here. He worked closely with Young-ho, training Earth's first interstellar security forces. They weren't just colleagues anymore. They were brothers in a way that transcended species. Do you regret it? Dr. Hyejin Asuke